In early February of 2022, the nation was captivated by the harrowing tale of a young boy who fell into a well in the Rif Mountains of northern Morocco. 5-year-old Rayan Aourram found himself trapped 104 feet below ground, sparking a desperate rescue mission that would last 4 agonizing days. As rescuers tirelessly worked to free him, they faced daunting challenges posed by the treacherous mix of rock and sand in the mountainous terrain. With the ever-present threat of a landslide, one wrong move would have resulted in the burying of Rayan in the well. Time became a precious commodity, but would they succeed in saving him before it was too late? Let's talk about it. This is the infamous case of Rayan Aourram, the boy in the well. Morocco is one of the biggest producers of cannabis in the world. In many of the mountainous regions, it is the main industry and its economic importance has surged in recent decades. In these regions, where nearly 1 million people reside, cannabis serves as a primary source of income for many households. The favourable climate and terrain of the mountains make these areas ideal for cannabis cultivation, and the industry provides a plethora of employment opportunities, ranging from cultivation and harvesting to processing, transportation, and sales. Families often rely on cannabis-related activities to sustain their livelihoods, contributing significantly to the local economy. For centuries, the Rif Mountains, stretching from the city of Tangier to the eastern border with Algeria, has served as a focal point for cannabis cultivation. In the Rif Mountains lies the city of Chefchaouen, which until 2022 was relatively unknown to the world, bar a few exotic travellers. Chefchaouen, nestled in the Rif Mountains of northern Morocco, dates back centuries, with its origins rooted in the 15th century when it was established as a fortress to defend against Portuguese invasion. It is quite a unique looking city with striking blue-washed buildings, narrow winding streets, and a breathtaking mountain backdrop to top it off. In the mountains surrounding the city of Chefchaouen, the cannabis industry has long been intertwined with the local economy and culture. The fertile lands of the Rif Mountains provides ideal conditions for cannabis growth, and many farmers in the region have relied on growing cannabis as a primary source of income for generations. The illegal nature of cannabis cultivation means that farmers operate mostly outside of official channels. The farms are not regulated and have very little safety protocols in place. According to the Translational Institute, the unregulated cannabis market in Morocco has negative social consequences. Some 48,000 growers have arrest warrants hanging over their heads, which is a source of corruption and repression. Nevertheless, the poor families of these regions have no other choice than to work at these farms just to get by. One of these families was the Aourram family, who lived in the Aourram village in the Tamrat commune. Not much is known about their family, but we do know it consisted of parents Khaled Aourram, Wasima Kashish, and 5-year-old Rayan. Khaled Aourram worked and lived on one of the cannabis farms located in the Aourram village. On his property was a well, which was very common in the region. When growing cannabis, a substantial amount of water is needed for it to grow. Consequently, residents in the area excavate deep wells to find a water source. These wells are normally very deep and are covered to prevent accidental falls. In late January of 2022, Khaled was almost finished with constructing the well but needed to do some repair works. On the 1st of February, whilst he was working, Rayan, who was playing outside, fell into the well. His father said that he had fallen. That one moment I took my eyes off him. Rayan had fallen 32 metres, or 104 feet to the bottom of the well. After realising Rayan was gone, he and his wife searched the property until they stumbled across a horrific sight. There were footprints leading to the well. The zinc cover that was normally on top had been removed, probably by a car that's passed over it. His father, who didn't know if the child was alive or dead, screamed for help and alerted authorities, who rushed to the scene. They lowered a phone camera down the well, which confirmed that he had fallen down. Although he was unconscious, he appeared to be breathing. The rescue operation was conducted by the Morocco Civil Protection Directorate and commenced on the same night. The rescue team decided the best way to free Rayan was by digging vertically next to the hole to a depth of 32 metres, and then when they were there, dig horizontally towards the boy. However, they knew this was going to take a long time, and it was unclear how much time they had. The operation was anything but easy. The rescue team faced challenges due to the blend of rocky and sandy terrain in the region, posing a risk of landslides that could result in burying the child. Due to fears of a collapse, they expanded the scope of the drilling around the well. Whilst this went on, They decided to send someone down the well to see if they could free the boy that way. A few people volunteered, and one was even able to get close to the boy, but had to turn back as it became too narrow. According to reports, the well was at a maximum 45 centimeters wide. On the Thursday, 2 days after he had fallen, the authorities enlisted assistance from an expert who descended into the well on 2 occasions. Initially, he descended 17 meters, followed by 24 meters on the second attempt. However, the narrow confines of the shaft impeded further progress. Despite this, he managed to establish communication with the child, who responded to him faintly, indicating that 2 days after he had fallen in, he was still alive. The volunteer reported back that the child was immobile at the bottom of the well, but keeps having fainting spells. His breathing is also failing, so they didn't have much time. Rescuers would send oxygen, water, and food down the well. By this point, the story had gone viral, and hundreds of Moroccans arrived at the scene to watch the rescue mission, sing songs, and bring food and supplies to emergency services, who were doing everything they could to free the trapped child. Even the King of Morocco, Mohammed VI, was instructing officials to use all means necessary to dig the boy out of the well and return him alive to his parents. The hashtag Save Rayan went viral on social media, as the world watched on in anticipation and hope that they would soon see the child free. The digging went on for 3 days until they reached 32 meters down. They then began digging towards the child, which again would prove very difficult due to the threat of a landslide. By Saturday, the team was getting very close to Rayan but had lost contact. A statement was released saying, "It is not possible to determine the child's condition at all at this time, but we hope to God that the child is alive." That same day, it was reported that rescuers were now only 2 meters away from him, but they had been blocked in their path by a boulder. One of the rescue teams said, the diggers encountered a hard rock on their way and were therefore very careful to avoid any landslides or cracks. He went on to say, it took about 5 hours to get rid of the rock because the digging was slow and was done in a careful way to avoid creating cracks in the hole from below, which could threaten the life of the child as well as the rescue workers. The world watched on with their hearts in their mouths as the team edged ever closer to Rayan. Ambulances were on standby ready to rush him to the hospital, and his parents waited in agony for any kind of news. Because of the rock blocking their path, the rescue team had to use hand tools to avoid causing any form of landslide. Ali Sahari was tasked with this job, and using just a pickaxe, slowly started forming a tunnel to free him. Large pipes were also put in place to add support, but would they reach him in time? On the 5th of February, after 4 long, excruciating days, it was announced that the rescue team finally made it to Rayan. For a brief moment, the world would rejoice in happiness, but minutes later, this would turn to heartbreak when it was announced that tragically, Rayan was found dead. At first, when he was carried to the ambulance, the crowd watching cheered on, but it was sadly confirmed by King Mohammed that he had passed away. The rescue team joined hands with his parents as they walked away. Tributes would pour in via social media, with one Algerian football player saying, "Rayan's courage will stay in our memories and continue to inspire us. And so too will the devotion of the Moroccan people and all of the rescuers. All my thoughts are with his family and loved ones." After captivating the whole nation, thousands of mourners gathered to pay their respect to Rayan at his funeral in Aourram. His burial was held in a cemetery on an unpaved road up a hill in which visitors would have to walk 8 kilometers to get there. One person who attended the funeral said, "I am over 50 years old and have never seen as many people in a funeral," whilst another funeral goer said, "Rayan's death has renewed faith in humanity as people in different languages and from different countries express solidarity." The casket Rayan was buried in was decorated in lush green cloth with verses from the Quran on it. Rayan's aunt said, "My nephew, my heart is aching for him, too much. May God be with him, just like how God stood with us." It was clear that the news of Rayan's death shook the nation, but the news of his death would also result in outrage at the conditions he had to grow up in. Many called out authorities, who they believed were neglecting these areas. One student said, "May Rayan rest in peace, but we need to work now to save the lives of many Moroccan children like Rayan, who live in villages with neglected wells and hard to reach water sources." Nevertheless, although they did not get the result they wanted, the rescue operation and support on social media brought out the best in many, and hopefully his death will not be in vain. May he rest in peace. As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. It's gutting that Rayan wasn't saved in time, but I generally believe this was a case where rescuers did everything they possibly could to save him. Whilst editing this video, I found out his family have recently welcomed a new baby into the world. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.